So when we watch these films where the first half is completely different from the second half and we've come out of the movie, don't you get a feeling that, oh, I've got two movies for the price of one, but it's not necessarily very entertaining. You don't feel कि पैसा वसूल हो गया. You start questioning.
पूरे वक्त बदल दिया, जज्बात बदल गए, कैरेक्टर्स के मूड बदल गए और आपको लग रहा है कि भाई यही फिल्म था क्या जो मैं पहले देख रहा था.
In a rom-com film, for the second half, the rom remained and the com went off.
Exactly. It became a rom cry.
Fan का जो first half है, it is so interesting, so new. I wanted to like this film, but because of this second half.
You got two Shah Rukhs for the price of one. You got to swim as a star and you got to swim as a fan also.
You're listening to Dime a Dozen Films podcast. Hello, Saurabh. Hello, Ashuu ji. How are you this evening?
I'm doing very well. Hope both of you are doing really, really nice.
Sab changa si. I'm very fine.
Wow.
Welcome to another podcast of Dime a Dozen Films. Today's topic is very off. It's not a regular topic. It's going to be a surprise for our listeners. So are you all enthusiastic and excited about today's topic?
I am always enthusiastic about talking films any time of the day.
Saurabh, what about you?
आप लोगों को तो पता ही है मैं एंथू कटलेट हूँ मूवीज के बारे में.
ये जो टाइटल है ना एंथू कटलेट का, this has to go to Ashuu ji, the crown and the prize.
What is that?
Enthu cutlets. Enthusiastic cutlets. Somebody who's very enthusiastic and very, motivating.
हाँ, तो मैं कटलेट लेवल से मोटिवेटिंग हूँ.
जी, जी.
तो आज का टॉपिक के बारे में थोड़ा सा डिस्क्राइब करें, नलिनी जी.
जी, बिल्कुल. So, when we've been having our chats, we've been talking about so many things. We talk about cinema, but there's one thing that was on all our minds. And it just came out very organically. It wasn't even planned. That aren't there some times that you have watched movies and you've come out of the theater wondering that, oh, the first half is so great and it keeps you engaged. It's either a comedy or it's a thriller or it's a drama, and then you go out into the interval, you buy your popcorn and you come back and you sit down for the second half, and then you end up wondering, ye kya ho gaya? What happened here? The story takes another direction, it goes off completely on a different tangent. So when we watch these films where the first half is completely different from the second half and we've come out of the movie, don't you get a feeling that, oh, I've got two movies for the price of one, but it's not necessarily very entertaining. You don't feel कि पैसा वसूल हो गया. You start questioning that what happened. The first half was so different. The second half has turned up to be so different. What happened to the writing? What happened to the director? Why did this happen? So there are many films like that, and we thought that collectively that we would talk about this today. So your comments on this facet of cinema, Ashuu ji?
ऐसी फिल्म है आशु जी जो मतलब फर्स्ट हाफ आप देख रहे हैं, सेकंड हाफ में इंटरवल होते साथ खत्म होते साथ पूरे वक्त बदल दिया, जज्बात बदल गए. वैसी फिल्म है, कैरेक्टर्स के मूड बदल गए और आपको लग रहा है कि भाई यही फिल्म था क्या जो मैं पहले देख रहा था. ये कोई अलग फिल्म दिखा रहे हैं क्या? वैसी फिल्मों के बारे में आज बात करेंगे.
हाँ, मैं तो क्या है, मैं कुछ अलग तरीके से लिप्त हो जाता हूँ कहानी के अंदर, तो मुझे कहानी में कुछ ना कुछ अच्छा दिखना शुरू हो जाता है. बट यस, ऐसी काफी सारी फिल्में देखी हैं जो ऐसा लगता है कि फर्स्ट हाफ में कोई और कहानी बोल रहे थे, सेकेंड हाफ में कोई और कहानी शुरू हो गई, तो कहीं ना कहीं ऐसा लगा कि हम किस डायरेक्शन में, किस दिशा में जा रहे हैं, एंड सडनली सेकेंड हाफ में लगा कि हमने कोई और ही डायरेक्शन पकड़ लिया. हालांकि कैरेक्टर्स वही हैं, फेसेस वही हैं, दुनिया वही है, यूनिवर्स वही है. मैं तो जिस फिल्म के बारे में बात करूंगा वो ऐसी फिल्म होगी जो ऐसा लगेगा कि फर्स्ट हाफ जो है वो कुछ और कॉन्सेप्ट के ऊपर और सेकेंड हाफ कुछ और कॉन्सेप्ट को लेके दोनों को किस तरीके से अमेलगेमेट करने की कोशिश की, बट आपको मालूम पड़ता है डिस्टिंक्टली कि ये हम कोई दो अलग किस्म की कहानियां लेकर के चल रहे थे। नलिनी जी, आप बताएं, आपका टॉप फेवरेट कौन सा था जो आपको 2 फॉर द प्राइस ऑफ 1 में मिला?
जी, बिल्कुल मैं कहती हूँ, it's not my favorite film. Actually, it was when we were talking on the phone that day, it just came to my head that, do you remember this film? It was my favorite when it came to music. The music was just beautiful. It was Rajesh Roshan's music. The film was a hit. I think it came out in 1981, if I'm not mistaken, but it was a movie called Yarana with Amitabh Bachchan. I'm sure you all remember that film, no, Ashuji?
आई एब्सोल्युटली रिमेंबर इट, मेरे टाइम की फिल्म है वो।
एंड इस फिल्म में हमें फर्स्ट हाफ में इतना मजा आया था। द फर्स्ट हाफ इज ऑल अबाउट द इनोसेंस ऑफ फ्रेंडशिप, इट्स अबाउट लव, इट्स अबाउट डिवोशन टू वन अनदर, इट शोज यू विलेज लाइफ and such a deep friendship between Amitabh Bachchan and Amjad Khan. And then in the second half, the film just becomes about kidnapping, mental asylums, kids in danger, a whole ship which is taken, where people are taken hostage. Amjad Khan going to the mental asylum, actually becoming mental because he's been tortured. And then there's this little boy who is Amjad Khan's son in the film. उसको भी शौक लगता है, वो भी मतलब अपना संतुलन खो बैठता है। डॉक्टर बोलता है कि अगर ये बच्चन साहब का कैरेक्टर अगर इसको दिखा नहीं या इसके लिए गाना नहीं गाया, from what I remember, he's going to lose his mind and he'll never speak again. He becomes dumb, that little child, as in mute. And it becomes a tragedy almost, you know. So this film, I remember watching it when it was released, and we enjoyed the first half with Bachchan Saab coming from the village. And you know, if you remember, इसमें वो था ना, कच्चा पापड़ पक्का पापड़ और उसमें इतनी अच्छी कॉमेडी थी। और इस फिल्म के बारे में एक ट्रिविया भी है जो सौरभ को तो 100% पता होगा, आशू जी को भी पता होगा। वो उस वक्त भी जब हमने फिल्म देख रहे थे, then you could make out that this film has been made in a hurry, or something has happened. And much later, many years later, we got to know that when they went to shoot in Calcutta, there was so much trouble in that stadium where they were shooting. The crowds didn't allow them to shoot. So they had to come back to Bombay and shoot those songs here. But the trivia that I'm talking about this film, I wondered why it happened. Neetu Singh dubbed for herself for some parts of the film. In between, another dubbing artist dubbed, and then Rekha dubbed for her. And then they went back and had the rest of the film in Neetu Singh's voice. So I wondered why that happened, you know. So this film just came into my mind that ये हो क्या गया इस film को? Why did it become? Because first half में दिखाते हैं that Jeevan, who's the villain, he's already ripped them of their money and taken all their money and gone away, and he's disappeared. फिर वो वापस आता है, फिर रंजीत वापस आता है, फिर विलनी शुरू हो जाती है। तो I thought this was a classic case of 2 for the price of 1, but not a happy price. It didn't leave you feeling very happy. So that's my first film that I'm talking about, Yarana.
One more trivia about this movie, नलिनी जी।
जी
इसमें वो जो गाना है, पॉपुलर गाना सारा जमाना,
जी जी
उसका एक ट्रिविया ये है कि वो स्टेडियम जो उन्होंने हायर किया, वहां लोग बहुत कम आए और सिर्फ 70 लोग आए, शायद 70 पीपल, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग। और वो उन्होंने क्या किया, there's a trick, they used a trick that they switched off the lights. If you see, the stadium is dark actually. उस डार्कनेस से बचने के लिए they thought this idea of बच्चन साहब wearing these light वाला bulb वाला costume.
That was, you know, Bachchan Saab's idea. He gave it to the director because that song was supposed to be shot in Calcutta. And they did start one part of it in Calcutta. If you see 2 bits, एक तो दोनों गाने हैं, छूकर मेरे मन को, and then this Sara Zamana, in which he comes out with this costume with lights. So because the crowds didn't allow them to shoot, they said, okay, बाकी की चीजें हम बॉम्बे में स्टूडियो में करेंगे. And in the studio, they didn't get that many crowds. So this idea, Bachchan Saab gave to, I think Rakesh Kumar is the director. and gave it to him that, we'll put on these lights in the stadium so it'll look like it's full. So you're absolutely right about this trivia. But I don't know whether it was because less people came. I think it was just, I don't know. That part I don't know. But interesting trivia about that.
Yeah, so I have another trivia to this completely, and I think that is one of the reasons why you might get an answer. Maybe you guys know about it also. Neetu Singh was supposed to get married,
Yeah.
and she gave away a deadline saying that this is the time. If you can finish the film in so much time, fine. Otherwise, I'm off. I'm getting married, and then of course she didn't do films for some time after that. That's why you realize that almost half the film Neetu Singh is not there only. She's not there in the film. Unless she's not even dubbed for portions of a film, then maybe they've used the pilot track and hence you realize that some portion her voice is there, some portion some other voice is there. So that little indiscrepancy creeps in. But the biggest factor that went against Yarana, and maybe that is what probably, and I can't say this for a fact because I'm not privy to it, but this is the reason why they must have sort of tampered around with the story in a way where they can take only two friends and try and create a plot around that, rather than having a plot with the girl and the girl is then not available to shoot.
Oh, so you think the writing changed because Neetu Singh was not available? I mean, they couldn't even dub her. She didn't even dub for it. She dubbed parts for it.
So they didn't finish the film obviously because she had to get married, and whatever dates were allocated, whatever work they finished within that they did, but they obviously didn't finish the film. And then those were the days where films would take over a year to shoot because all actors would do 10 films, 12 films a year, three shifts a day, and it became difficult to sort of finish the work because they were divided over all the other work, all the other films. So I have a feeling, this is what my feeling is, but I'm not too privy to. This is what it is.
Right, but it was a shoddily shot film, and it was very sad. It could have been something because it was a beautiful friendship film, between these two. But it didn't hit the mark.
But what hit songs?
So that's my first choice. But what beautiful music! I mean, Rajesh Roshan just outdid himself. Yeah, yes. So that's my first choice, and over to you, Ashuu.
So I'm going to speak only about one film. I don't want to speak about multiple films, but I have another reason for this. Although you'll find that in terms of story, it seems seamless first half as well as second half, but you will understand what I'm trying to say. There is this film that was released, I don't remember the exact year, but the film was called Diwangi. I don't know if you saw it, the Diwangi film.
Primal Fear Indian version, right?
Correct. So that film had Ajay Devgan, it had Urmila Matondkar and Akshay Khanna. The first half of the film was Primal Fear. And you realize, and it became interesting from the point of view of the Indian audiences, they were seeing something which was completely different. They were talking about split personality and how a person has a problem when he has a split personality and whatever, only to realize that, okay, he's been just cooking up the entire story because the judiciary allows medically unfit people to, sort of, they see them in a different light. They don't see them as a proper criminal or whatever. बट जैसे वो प्राइमल फियर वाला एंगल हो गया खत्म और मुझे दिमाग में आया कि अब ये फर्स्ट हाफ में तो ये हो गया, अब सेकंड हाफ क्या करेंगे, बिकॉज पूरी कहानी जो प्राइमल फियर की थी वो तो उन्होंने फर्स्ट हाफ में कर दी.
प्राइमल फियर का जो क्लाइमैक्स है, दैट्स द इंटरवल पार्ट ऑफ दीवानगी.
करेक्ट. नाउ व्हाट टू डू, नाउ हाउ इज द राइटर गोइंग टू टेक इट फर्दर एंड ट्राई एंड डू समथिंग एल्स. सो व्हाट डिड ही डू, मुझे ऐसा लगा, आई थॉट द सेकंड हाफ बिकेम अ वर्जन, नॉट एग्जैक्ट बट अ वर्जन of sleeping with the enemy, where there was this girl who's petrified of the person who's supposedly in love with her, of somebody who believes that, this girl only belongs to me and cannot belong to anybody else. So there's this crazy obsession about the girl, and that girl fears this entire obsession, and he becomes a criminal in that respect. The kind of fear that this character instills in the girl's character is extremely clear and close to what sleeping with the enemy was. And of course, there were 3 other films that were made which were basically on the sleeping with the enemy lines. That was Yarana, Darar, and Agni Sakshi. And uh, Nana Patekar won a national award for Agni Sakshi. But I thought the first half was about romance, about love, about one boy who's split in personality, and he's trying to, struggle with it. And then you realize it the second half. I mean, the interval that he's conniving. But by second half, which I saw the film, I thought there was a lot of similarity to Sleeping with the Enemy. Earlier, I thought it was Cape Fear, but then I said, "नहीं, Cape Fear नहीं है, तो definitely Sleeping with the Enemy type के lines में जा रही है." So I saw 2 films blended into one. So your 2 for the price of 1 is what I saw in Divangi. I don't know whether this categorizes in that, but this is what my feeling was. The little trivia with respect to Divangi is I was supposed to be part of Divangi. In fact, the film was shot even earlier. It had a different star cast. The film had Sanjay Dutt, it had Karishma Kapoor and Ajay Devgan. And some portions of the film were shot. I was supposed to do the special effects of the film. And then something happened and the films didn't take it didn't go further. The next thing I knew was that the star cast was changed, and instead of Karishma, Urmila Matondkar came in. Instead of Sanjay Dutt, Akshay Khanna came in. And Ajay Devgan retained his character. That's a little trivia that I thought I should share.
Ashuji, I forget who directed Divangi.
It was directed by Anis Bazmi and was produced by Nitin Manmohan, Nair.
Okay, sure. I remember that film well. Saurabh, what about you?
Ashuu ji, I always get confused with Divangi and Divanapan.
Yes. So
Divanapan is Ashuji's film.
Yeah.
And one more trivia is Primal Fear का जो theme music है ना, the theme music of Primal Fear, the original, उसके theme music पे भी गाना है दीवानगी में.
Yeah.
I think Saurabh should enter the Oscar race for trivia.
I also think Divangi का जो उसमें जो गाना है जिसमें वो conduct वगैरह करता है, that was an Italian song, because Primal Fear itself was a remake from an earlier film, और उसके अंदर जो गाना था उसको फिर यहाँ पे उसको rehash करके इस्माइल दरबार से वो पूरा गाना करवाया. So that's a different thing altogether. But yes, my thing was that 2 for the price of 1, I thought I saw in Divangi.
But Ashuji, before we go to Saurabh, I just wanted to ask you, when these movies like Yarana का तो आपने कोई reason बताया, it might be because of Neetu Singh, but essentially Yarana was a friendship film. But ये Divangi में, I mean, it was a thriller from the start. So do they lose their way? Or what are they trying to do? They're trying to actually deliberately put Sleeping with the Enemy and this together and thinking, chalo, we'll make a masala film and this people will like. Why do they go off onto another track?
There is a reason. The reason is to show Akshay Khanna the hero. Because in this film, Ajay Devgan is the villain. And he should not get away with what he's doing. What Primal Fear में जो climax है, उसमें the villain gets away with what he's doing. वो उसका पोपट बना देता है. नाम क्या, रिचर्ड के लिए ना?
Richard Gere.
Yes, Richard Gere. Richard Gere.
केले क्यों बोल रहा हूँ? रिचर्ड गियर उसका पोपट बना देते हैं. That's the climax of the film. मगर यहाँ Akshay Khanna is shown as the hero and Ajay Devgan as the villain. और हमारे
So
फिल्मों
just
में
because you want to show somebody a hero, you just change the writing and change the plot and justify it like that.
that's what happens in Bollywood. Hero villain बच के निकल नहीं सकता है.
But I don't know if you remember Divangi. Divangi के end में, it is an open-ended film where you realize that Urmila's character and Akshay Khanna's character have gone probably on a honeymoon or something in Switzerland, and they suddenly happen to hear a song which was very popular, which Ajay Devgan's character used to sing. And that guy's they show in a long shot one guy sort of walking away, and this song emanating out of him, and this Urmila's character gets a little scared and suspicious, and so does Akshay's character. And then Akshay's character says, पर ये तो बहुत पॉपुलर गाना है, कोई भी गा सकता है, कहीं भी गा सकता है. So they've left that thing open even in this film. So point is, it's not about popat bana ke diya or whatever. I think, what happens is when it comes to thriller, the writer, and I have a lot of respect for Anis Bazmi when it comes to writing, whether it's comedy or whether it's thrillers or whatever. Somewhere I have a feeling, he must have felt that just the primal fear track may not hold on for 2.5 hours, and he needs something more to make it a little more interesting. And that is why he must have used that only to the extent where he felt as a director and a storyteller that it will hold the audiences, and then moved on to something else. Although he tried to do it, he did it very seamlessly. And that is where the whole thing was there. Many a times, I think, when the writer sort of falls short of ideas, that's when he starts borrowing it from here and there and whatever.
I remember that song part that you're saying at the end. I don't know if my memory serves me right, but it's somebody's walking and with a cap, right? And that song is coming and they turn around to look, right? Or they show the person also,
They don't
right?
show the person.
Or they don't show. Or they don't show. Okay. They just, yeah. Okay. All right, Saurabh.
Yeah, so my film, which comes under this category, at my top of my head, the film is Ishq. Inder Kumar ki Ishq film. The first half looks like a slapstick comedy directed by David Dhawan. Ram, and the banter between Juhi Chawla, Denchu. फिर वो टीकू तलसानिया का humor. Then the rapport between Sadashiv Sunny.
Sadashiva.
Amrapurkar,
Sadashiv Amrapurkar, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the banter between Sadashiv Amrapurkar and this guy. What's his name? Forgot his name.
Dalip Tahil.
Yeah, Dalip Tahil. वो सब बहुत funny था. But second half में एकदम से जज्बात बदल गए, तारीख बदल गई. Everything badal gaye.
Yours is a fantastic choice, Saurabh. It really fits into that mold. Carry on.
Yeah, some like second half is like a misunderstanding between these people, and then Johnny Lever emotional scene kar raha. I remember when I was watching this film, when this scene came where Johnny Lever is telling Ajay Devgan that ये सब Sadashiv Amarpurkar ने misunderstanding create किया है. And he has tears in his eyes. So I was thinking, Johnny Lever क्यों रो रहा है? Why Johnny Lever is crying? क्योंकि मैंने इनको हमेशा हंसते हुए देखा है. So that was very weird. Like I never watched second half of Ishq again in my entire life. I always watch the first half और मैं छोड़ देता हूँ. टाटा बाय बाय खत्म. टाटा बाय बाय.
Exactly, Saurabh. Me neither. The first half just has you in splits, and the second half has gone off into God knows which. So, इसका क्या कारण है? अब इसके बारे में बात करते हैं थोड़ा सा. तुमको क्या लगता है, सौरभ? क्यों मतलब इतनी अच्छी कॉमेडी बन रही है और फिर ये क्यों सीरियस में रेप, मोलेस्टेशन, किडनैपिंग, false equivalence, false charges against somebody? Why did they do that?
I don't know this, but I don't like a film which has comedy in it, comedy for a long period. It's happening in the film, and suddenly they changes the tone. They always do that. In many comedy films in Hindi movies, I have seen that वो comedy का pace थोड़ा slow हो जाता है when that emotional scene comes in between. So that same problem happens with this film also. It looks like a rom-com. And suddenly they change the tone just to add melodrama, dramatic dialogues, फिर वो dialogue बाजी, action, फिर हृदय परिवर्तन, सदाशिव अमरपुर का हृदय परिवर्तन. These are the tropes of Bollywood films, Hindi films. So they just wanted to add that commercial value. I guess they wanted to add it, and it completely changed the film's tone.
So सौरभ, इसका क्या है, मैं थोड़ा सा एक छोटी सी चीज बताता हूँ. इसमें ऐसा है कि पता है, if you remember the earlier trailers of the film, बहुत मेन स्ट्रीम कमर्शियल मसाला फिल्में ऐसी होती थी और उसके ट्रेलर ऐसे ही बनते थे. इस फिल्म में इमोशन है, कॉमेडी है, एक्शन है, ड्रामा है।
एक्शन नहीं बोलते थे आशु जी, एक्शन नहीं बोलते थे, फाइट फाइट है।
तो मतलब क्या है कि बेसिकली आप जो आकर के इसमें, उस वक्त तो टिकटों की प्राइसेस भी 20-25 रुपए हुआ करती थी। आप जो 20-25 रुपए खर्च करेंगे टिकटों की, या जो टिकटों की प्राइस आपने खर्च की है, उसमें पूरा पैसा वसूल होगा, क्योंकि सारे किस्म का इमोशन जो है वो आपको एक ही फिल्म में, इस फिल्म में मिल जाएगा। इसलिए कॉमेडी जो था उसमें, एक फिल्म में उसको एक ट्रैक माना करते हैं। कॉमेडी इज वन ट्रैक, इमोशन इज वन ट्रैक, एक्शन इज वन ट्रैक, ऐसे मल्टीपल ट्रैक्स बना करके एक मसाला फिल्म बनती।
Yeah, that's why अंदाज अपना अपना didn't work. अंदाज अपना अपना didn't work because पूरे पिक्चर में कॉमेडी था, एंड दैट इज आल्सो सेल्फ अवेयर कॉमेडी, कि हम लोग कॉमेडी कर रहे हैं, वैसी वाली कॉमेडी, कोई इमोशन नहीं। दैट्स व्हाई दैट फिल्म डिडंट वर्क। अगर उसमें भी ऐसा मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग, मेलोड्रामा, अमर और प्रेम में दरार, ऐसा कुछ दिखा देते तो शायद वो फिल्म चल जाती उस टाइम पे।
Yeah, but Saurabh, the makers who made Andaz Apna Apna, the daughter and the people who were involved with it, when you ask them the reason, and other people in the film industry, as to why Andaz Apna Apna, when it released, got such a muted response and people didn't like it, apparently according to them, now who knows who's right or whatever, but is that, first of all, they didn't give it the publicity that it needed, and at that point in time the action era had entered Hindi cinema, and like you said, no, this is an all and out comedy, and people couldn't understand what kind of comedy. It was so silly that it was something which was very new. So it's not because it was entirely comedy. And also she told me that because of the music, because I like the Nair touch of the music, but it didn't work because of these reasons, is what I'm told. Ashuu can add to that.
I had met the producer once very briefly, and he told me, he says, yes, the film did not work in the theaters, and it wasn't a successful film. But he says the kind of money that I have made from the satellite and television medium, every time the film keeps on repeating, because the audiences have loved watching it on the television and keep repeating it all the time. So he's made a lot of money after that on the satellite version.
Ashuu, to come back to what you were saying, na, that exactly what you were saying, trailers make comedy, hai, emotion, hai, drama and everything. All those films, the comedy track, when there is a track, like even if it's Dhumal or Shabnam or Mahmood, it runs throughout the film, and then there's drama, and then there's thriller, and then there's suspense. It's running throughout, and after some time they remove the comedy. But the film that Saurabh is talking about, Ishq, the whole first half is just comedy, and the entire second half is nothing but drama. So that is a bit of a mystery as to aise unhone kyun.
But it is not only that. If you see Dil, if you see Raja, if you see Ishq, Indra Kumar has his template of making films which are commercial films, which have an excellent, or which has a lot of comedy in the first half, and then he gets into a social drama. Even Beta, if you see, all of his films have that template. It's his style.
But that style gave you 2 movies, price of 1.
There you go. I think we should come back to the idea of topic of 2 for the price of 1.
So Ishq, we got 2 for the price of 1, but only the first half was enjoyed, really, by me and by Saurabh, and I think by the audiences. I'm going to go into my second film, and I want to know from y'all if y'all agree. What did y'all think of Chini Kam, Balki's Chini Kam? Because that's the film that I would like to talk about, where the first half has got nothing to do with the second half, or very little to do with the second half. Before I say anything, I would like to pick your brains on that.
No, I think, Nalini, it is your film. You tell us why you thought it is 2 for the price of 1. Then we'll make a comment on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Chini Kam, the first half is about a relationship which is developing between a much older man and a younger lady. And it's set in London, and it's very stylish. And when we went and saw the film in the cinema hall, it was, I don't know if it was a big hit or a moderate hit. I don't know all those details, but it did make a little bit of waves because of the way Bachchan Saab looked, and because of the out-of-the-box theme when it came to Bachchan Saab and Taboo, and older man, 64 years with 32 or 34 years. and it was stylish and all of that. And there's this Ilyaraja's music, and it's this relationship which is developing in a very, very different way that we haven't seen in Hindi cinema. The dialogues are very different, the way that they're falling for each other, the way Tabu's teasing him, and all these things were very different. So it was very charming. The first half was charming. And then it goes off into गांधी जी सत्याग्रह, खाना पीना नहीं करना, दिल्ली की कॉलोनी जहाँ पे लोग जमा हो जाते हैं, ऊपर परेश रावल भूख हड़ताल कर रहे हैं, and it goes off into crying and melodrama. And there's one scene in it which Zora Sehgal ji is there, and she comes from Haridwar and she has Ganga Jal. And at that point in time, Bachchan Saab goes upstairs and to talk to Paresh Rawal, and he gives him a long lecture. Not a lecture, they're actually having an argument where he says that, why don't you want me to marry your daughter? It's because I'm older than you, I'm 6 years older than you, or that's your ego problem. And there's this whole long speech which he's giving on the terrace. And नीचे just to create the melodrama, वो कॉलोनी के सारे लोग 60-70 लोग जमा हो गए हैं, वो सब नीचे सुन पा रहे हैं कि ऊपर क्या हो रहा है, फिर सारे रिश्तेदार आ जाते हैं, फिर बीच में वो छोटी सी लड़की जो है who they call sexy in the film, she passes away. So it was 2 for the price of 1, but the second half didn't appeal to me at all. The first half was okay, but the second half was, where is this film going? Why didn't they just continue with this relationship? It was a beautiful idea to have a film like that. But then to justify it and say, okay, I don't know what it is that they may want to make the Indian audiences think that, oh, an older man wants to marry a younger woman and this is what happens. And I don't know, but it was, for me, on a script level and whatever, it just didn't work.
So, Nalini, according to you, in a rom-com film, for the second half, the rom remained and the com went off.
Exactly. It became a rom cry. I don't know. I found it so weird, and I just found it unnecessary. I just wanted to know, okay, ye likhte hain, then what do they think? What is there at the back of their minds that, okay, we'll do this. So for me, it's 2 for the price of 1, Shinikam. But again, not a pleasant experience, the second half.
What do you, your next film, Saurabh, because I'm going to speak only of that one film. I'm not going to speak of the other one. So what is your next film?
I want to talk about Chinikam.
Please do.
Yeah, so I liked Chinikam. R. Balki's other films I don't like much, but Chinikam I quite enjoyed. And I think Chinikam was a different take on Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge.
Acha.
Yeah, the plot is same. अपने बाप को मनाते हैं, मतलब लड़की के बाप को मनाना. That's the crux of the film, right? Of DDLJ.
Yes, but it doesn't strike you when you watch the film. It's very far from that.
No, but also Saurabh, ever since time immemorial, I can think of all romantic films have got either the girl's father needs to be put out or the boy's father needs to be put out or the family needs to be put out. वो उसमें नया क्या है? उसमें तो बहुत पुरानी चीज हम लोग पता नहीं कितने जन्मों से देख रहे हैं.
अरे डीडीएलजे तो जानी जाती है वो नॉर्म को तोड़ने के लिए.
हाँ, वो मालूम है वो एंड में it was in 1995 very path breaking that, but I don't know, I never thought of Chinikam as similar to DDLJ.
I felt it's a different take on DDLJ. And आशु जी जो बोल रहे हैं वो डीडीएलजे ने तो तोड़ा है. उससे पहले जो भी फिल्में आती थी उसमें या तो भाग जाते थे या तो क्रांतिकारी बन जाते थे, घर वालों से लड़ने के लिए चले जाते थे. बट इन डीडीएलजे वो मनाता है, वो खुद देता है, जा सिमरन जा. That was very new back in time.
I agree. It's not about winning your love, it's about winning over the entire family.
Yes.
But yeah, some scenes were added for melodrama effect, like that girl's death. That was full on melodrama. But that I felt when I was watching that film, that scene actually affected me, like when I was watching it. Overall, I loved the film. The starting of the opening shot of the film where वो हैदराबादी जायका वाला बिरयानी जो खिलाते हैं, वो सब सीन मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है.
No, the first half is it was nice. It was with yeah, it was different. It was enjoyable. But then it goes off. Even when you watch it, then I felt that this was. I wanted to see more of these two together. I didn't want to see all this melodrama and this going back and Bhook Hartal and Gandhi ji ki picture and what is all that?
That's drama. So
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't want to. I mean, I don't know. It would have worked for me if it would have continued in that same way that they're showing this relationship, and that's why it becomes more path breaking, that if there are more relationships like this and this is how they deal with them, because had they shown aage jaake these are the kind of issues, because they end the film on everybody lives happily ever after. I don't think that would have happened in real life. They would have come across some roadblocks in a relationship with such a vast age difference. And I would have been interested to see that, how do they cope after marriage and, regular life. And that would have made me more interested in Chinikam.
So I think one of the things what happens, or it is understood very clearly within the film industry, is that, to get the family audiences, especially the women audiences, interested in the film, there has to be emotional content in the film. And the emotional content is what makes the film last longer, besides the comedy. And that is what has been the belief for a long, long time. इसकी वजह से कॉमेडी के साथ में, एक्शन के साथ में इमोशन आता ही आता है. उल्टा एक्शन को आप फिर भी you can sort of sacrifice, but you cannot sacrifice emotion in a film. That is what the film industry people believe makes the film become extremely successful.
Gee, I agree with you, Ashuu ji, but I was not at all moved. I don't know if you were, or Saurabh says he liked the film. This whole track with Paresh Rawal's sorrow and everything didn't move me at all. It didn't touch me in any way. I didn't feel anything for him. So in that sense, the emotion failed for me.
Yeah, but if the film has worked and the numbers have worked, then I think for more people than not, the emotion has worked. Numbers don't lie, no?
Yes, but that doesn't mean that it has to touch everyone.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
You are entitled to your point of view, and you have a right to it also.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, generally the filmmaker comes with this point of view that I need to have emotion in the film so that the women audiences get attached. So over to you, Saurabh.
Yeah, so my second film is जो मेरे अभी ज़हन में आ रही है, that is, this film is a film which I desperately want to like it, but नहीं हो रहा है, and that film is शाहरुख खान's Fan.
Yeah.
Fan का जो first half है, it is so interesting, so new, and Shahrukh Khan doing this young Shahrukh Khan, और वो पूरा defacing technology जो मैंने पहली बार सुना था इसी फिल्म के थ्रू. So it was quite interesting. Even the trailer was quite intriguing. वो जो ट्रेलर के एंड में फैन ऐसा लिख के आता है और वो ग्लास जैसे शैटर होता है, the letters they shatter.
हाँ.
That was quite impactful when I watched that for the first time. और उसमें और एक सीन है जहाँ when he sees Shah Rukh Khan, the star, for the first time, and he reacts like वो एकदम eccentric expression देते हैं young Shah Rukh Khan. That was so nice. Like I love when Shah Rukh Khan tries to what you call stardom, जब साइड में रख के जब वो seriously acting करते हैं, like in Swadesh and Chak De India. I love him for that. So that moment I got in that particular scene.
I love the first half of Fan. I just love it.
Yeah. First half is superb. Second half में पता नहीं क्या पूरा दिमाग वो कुछ फिल्म मेकर्स बोलते हैं ना, या प्रोड्यूसर्स बोलते हैं कि दिमाग आप घर पे रख के आइए, वैसा फीलिंग दिया है सेकंड हाफ. सो द सेकंड हाफ में वो इंटरनेट कैफे बेच के लंदन जाता है रिवेंज लेने, शाहरुख खान स्टार से. And then like there's a chase sequence also happening where he's doing Parker stunt and all.
Crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
Like what is happening?
Saurabh, that one look that this fan, the Shah Rukh Khan dressed as the fan when the entire crowd is outside Mannat, that look when he looks up and sees him, no, that's just unforgettable. That look in his eyes when he sees his idol.
And and one more thing, second half बहुत बढ़िया हो सकता था second, क्योंकि the problem is this problem is with all the films which has this theme of fan versus the star. The problem is star का point of view नहीं दिखाते हैं. They always show fans point of view. Whether it is an action hero, whether it is driving license जिसका हिंदी में बना selfie, you see all these movies, they always shows the point of view of fan. They never show point of view of star. And there is a particular scene in the second half which has that little glimpse of star's point of view, and that is शाहरुख खान जब मिरर में देखते हैं, he wipes off his face and he sees his wrinkles. वो अपने गालों के जूरी देखते हैं, wrinkles देखते हैं. That shows the vulnerability of the star, that he has this insecurity कि उसका स्टारडम चला जाएगा. और वो एंड द बिगेस्ट इनसिक्योरिटी ऑफ अ स्टार कि स्टारडम चला जाएगा, किस वजह से स्टारडम चला जाएगा, मेरे फैंस कम हो जाएंगे. दैट्स द बिगेस्ट इनसिक्योरिटी ऑफ अ सुपरस्टार. सो वो इनसिक्योरिटी टैप करना चाहिए था कि एक फैन जब नाराज हो गया अपने स्टार से, उसके बाद जब उसका एक टाइम आता है जब उसका स्टारडम चला जाता है, फैंस चले जाते हैं, तब उसके साथ क्या होता है. दे शुड हैव शोन दैट. But they took this commercial thing and कुछ और ही बना दिए.
Yeah, just the second half just did not work at all. And that's why the film did do well, no?
Didn't do that.
Because everybody that I know who saw Fan, everybody was so excited and so happy about the first half. And Shah Rukh really took a lot of effort to play that. And then the second half just went downhill. And you're so right, even in Hollywood, when they make these fan films, there's one film, I forget the name of it, where Robert De Niro plays the crazed fan. Even then, it's from the point of view of the fan, you know. And yes, the most recent example is Action Hero. Yeah, yeah.
So I was actually going to tell Saurabh, you must watch this film called Fan or The Fan. I don't know if it's The or Fan, with Robert De Niro in it, and it's got a baseball
yes,
player.
Baseball.
And
I've seen
the film.
Yeah.
I've seen the film.
Yeah. So I have a feeling that they must have got impressed with that. But the concept I thought was brilliant about a fan and being a mad fan, and how a mad fan then becomes eccentric to an extent that he wants to actually finish off his own idol. So yes, interesting.
You know, I want to come back to, since you all are talking about fans, there's a film, of course, it's not two for the price of one, but Hrishikesh Mukherjee cracked this with Goody, no?
Yeah.
And he handled it so beautifully, where, of course, it's a little unbelievable that any star as big as Dharminder would agree to do what he did. But even that part was convincing, that he goes out of his way to make that girl's life better and shows everything. Yeah. So I think Goody was my favorite fan film. Till date, I think it's my favorite fan film.
Yeah, but again, it is from fans' point of view.
Yes, yes, absolutely. But they also tell you a little bit when Dharminder is talking to Utpal Datt, he does bring up things like, आजकल तो मैंने राजेश खन्ना का नाम सुना है, और हम लोग ये करते हैं, और हम कुछ भी चीजें जो करते हैं वो say, you know, they're not real. So little bit of that balance is there, not much, but it's there. I mean, it's the whole life of this film star they show you.
Yeah, but there is a reason why I said this, because in this film, Fan, if you see, Ashuu ji also said that term, mad fan. Actually, he was obsessed. He was not mad or eccentric. They showed him mad, eccentric, and bad in second half. उसको उन्होंने villain ही बना दिया. He was not a villain. If you see his characterization, he was self-obsessed, and he wanted to see him for once. और वो तब गुस्सा होता है जब उसको देखने मिलता नहीं है. And when he finally meets Shah Rukh Khan says कि तुम मेरे fan हो ही नहीं. That hurt. वो ईगो हर्ट हुआ उसको.
Yeah, and they put him in a lockup, no?
Yeah,
So they
locked up.
shouldn't have done that.
Yes.
Yeah, and then that's why he feels
Yeah.
so hurt. But yeah, nothing is justifiable. I mean, the second half of Fan, from any angle, I don't think you can justify what they did to that film. They could have done so much with that film. Somewhere hidden, somewhere in that is a very good film, you know?
Yeah, I wanted to like this film, but because of this second half, I don't like this film. It becomes a star-driven film. That's it.
बट सौरभ, सही मायने में 2 फॉर द प्राइस ऑफ 1 मिला तुमको. एक तुमको ये जो तुम बेसिकली टॉपिक बता रहे हो कि फर्स्ट हाफ सेकंड हाफ का है, बट दूसरा तुमको यू गॉट 2 शाहरुख फॉर द प्राइस ऑफ 1. यू गॉट टू स्विम एज अ स्टार एंड यू गॉट टू स्विम एज अ फैन आल्सो.
Good one. Good one. Good one. So then अगर आप ये कह रहे हो, then I'm going to talk about a film where the second half works, even though it's completely different from the first half quite a lot, and they've brought emotion and they've brought drama and they've brought a villain, but that worked and it worked for everyone, and that's सत्ते पे सत्ता. उसमें मतलब अगेन दो अमिताभ बच्चन, विलन, इमोशन, सब कुछ उसमें ना. Ashuu, can you tell me, Saurabh, when they kidnapped Ravi, when Amjad Khan takes him and kidnaps him in the second half, now they've kidnapped him and they've replaced his place with Babu. Babu's gone to his house. This was, but I couldn't understand even then, or abhi bhi jab main dekhti hu beech mein, why were they torturing him? They tie him up and put him on a terrace, and वहाँ पे उसके ऊपर धूप आ रही है, इतने सारे गुंडे हैं. They're torturing him for no reason, just to make it little bit more.
No, there is a reason. There is a reason, Nalini ji. क्योंकि वो दारू पीता है और दारू पीने से लिवर कबाब हो जाता है.
No, so see, on a serious note, why do they torture him? Why do they put up on the terrace और उसको बांध के बेचारा ऐसे लंबा लेटा हुआ है, ऊपर से धूप आ रही है और गुंडे वुंडे खड़े हैं. मुझे लगा था तब भी कि अमजद खान just had to lock him up. I mean, he wouldn't have been able to run away. और अमजद खान had no personal animosity against Ravi. So उसको बेचारे को इतना टॉर्चर करते हैं और फिर वहाँ बाबू आता है. तो मुझे तो लगता है एक फिल्म 2 for the price of 1 in real terms for me has been Satya Pe Satta, and I prefer it to the original Seven Brides for Seven Brothers for this reason, that first half is so entertaining, all comedy and everything, and then second half they bring in this emotion and they bring this love angle for Bachchan Saab and Ranjita, which was very nice. And I always wondered, Ashuu, because they looked so good on screen together, why Ranjita and Amitabh Bachchan were not cast again. It's a mystery, because that whole track of theirs was so interesting and they looked so good. And Babu with that, I'm sure Saurabh is going to talk about the trivia of the gargling and the music, but I'm not going there. I'm just talking about Satya Pe Satta as a 2 for the price of 1. My real top choice would be Satya Pe Satta.
I have a trivia, but not about the gargling thing. I have a trivia about the movie itself. So Satya Pe Satta was partly inspired from Seven Brides and Seven Brothers, right? Yeah. उससे पहले भी एक हिंदी फिल्म बनी है.
पता है.
और वो पूरी फिल्म Seven Brides और Seven Brothers पे है.
हाँ. अब बोल भी दो.
आप ही बोल दीजिए.
नहीं, आप बोलो.
फिल्म का नाम है कितना बदल गया इंसान. और इसका
नहीं, then I'm thinking of something else. No, then I'm mistaken. Saurabh, then I'm mistaken.
Okay, so this is a 1957 film called कितना बदल गया इंसान, और गेस कीजिए कि इस फिल्म का हीरो कौन है.
कौन था? मुझे नहीं मालूम, because I was thinking of something entirely different. Saurabh.
हाँ, ये मैंने गूगली फेंक दिया. इस फिल्म के हीरो थे स्मार्ट बॉय. सारा शहर मुझे
अजीत. मैंने नहीं देखी ये फिल्म.
हाँ. So पहले सत्य पे सत्य से पहले ही बन चुकी है.
तो इसके बारे में और बोलो ना. इस फिल्म के बारे में और बोलो सौरभ.
इस फिल्म के बारे में यही सेम प्लॉट है, एंड देयर इज द नोन फेस इज ओनली अजीत. रेस्ट ऑफ ऑल द ब्रदर्स मुझे याद ही नहीं है. मैंने ये फिल्म देखी है मगर मुझे याद नहीं है बाकी भाई लोग जो हैं वो कौन है. इवन एक्ट्रेस आई डोंट रिमेम्बर. बट आई रिमेम्बर दिस थिंग दैट कि गांव में जाते हैं और ये बहुत वही मतलब सेम प्लॉट कि झल्ला टाइप के आदमी और पूरा पहलवान है, हट्टे कट्टे हैं, और वो एक गांव में जाते हैं, उनको प्यार हो जाता है, फिर वो आती हैं इनके घर।
अच्छा, नाइस नाइस, मैंने नहीं देखी है फिल्म। हाँ
अच्छा, मैंने भी नहीं देखी, मैंने भी नहीं
हाँ।
देखी फिल्म।
Yeah, it was fun talking about this topic. Very interesting.
मतलब मुझे ऐसा लगता है ऐसी कितनी ही फिल्में होंगी, अभी हम लोगों ने तो एक्चुअली ट्रिगर कर दिया है, और हमारे लिसनर्स जो हैं वो और भी पता नहीं कितनी फिल्मों का एग्जाम्पल अपने दिमाग में चला रहे होंगे, बट क्योंकि हम सीमित टाइम पे ऑपरेट करते हैं और हमको लगता है कि बहुत लंबा पॉडकास्ट नहीं होना चाहिए, तो आई थिंक वी शुड एंड इट हियर एंड वी शुड वेट फॉर आवर लिसनर्स आल्सो टू राइट बैक टू अस एंड गिव देयर टू फॉर द प्राइस ऑफ वन फिल्म्स व्हिच दे फेल्ट यार ये फिल्म फर्स्ट हाफ कुछ और थी, सेकंड हाफ कुछ और है। इट इज नॉट नेसेसरी कि फिल्म जो है वो सेकंड हाफ खराब ही हो, सेकंड अच्छी भी हो सकती है, फिल्म सक्सेसफुल भी हो सकती, दो दो कहानियों का मिश्रण अच्छा भी हो सकता है। It's a good idea to have the listeners also to participate and get their point of view. What do you think, Nalini ji?
Absolutely, I agree 100%. And there are many such films, but today we've only spoken about 3 or 4, but there are many. There's a long list, and it would be really fun to hear from the listeners as to what they thought about this topic and if they want to add to it.
Yeah. What do you think, Saurabh?
Actually, we did a small Twitter poll kind of thing on Twitter. हमने सवाल पूछा था, नलिनी जी ने पूछा था. So do follow नलिनी जी, आशु जी for these kind of trivias. और हम अपने पॉडकास्ट के लिंक्स जो हैं वो अपने ट्विटर हैंडल, इंस्टाग्राम हैंडल में भी डालते हैं, so उसमें भी सुन सकते हैं आप.
Bilkul, and I want to thank the listeners for all their support so far, our regular listeners, and hopefully we'll have some fresh audience who we hope that we are able to entertain you and engage you more than entertain you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, keep blessing us, keep showering your love on us. And we promise to continue coming with some interesting topics. And we would really like, if you have some topics for us to discuss, we can do that as well.
Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us. Good night, Ashuu ji. Good night, Saurabh. Thank you for coming and joining.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.